Emergency response team, what's the situation?
Help! Help! Brutus won't let her go! The morning sun blazed over Riverwild Reptile Sanctuary on February 25th, 2025, painting the Florida sky in hues of gold and amber. The air thrummed with anticipation, thick with the scent of mangroves and the distant hum of cicadas. Families poured into the open-air amphitheater, their chatter mingling with the excited squeals of 45 elementary students clutching crumpled programs, their eyes wide with wonder. The sanctuary's main attraction, a crocodile show led by the legendary trainer Lauren Mitchell, was about to begin. For 17 years, Lauren had been the heart of Riverwild, her fearless performances with Brutus, a 16-foot, 2,000-pound saltwater crocodile, drawing crowds from across the globe. Her videos, heart-stopping moments of her swimming alongside massive reptiles or hand-feeding them raw meat, had millions of views on X, making her a wildlife icon. But on this humid morning, what promised to be a thrilling educational display would spiral into a nightmare that would haunt every soul in the stands. At 10:10 a.m., Lauren strode onto the concrete platform overlooking Brutus's enclosure, a shimmering pool framed by tangled mangroves and weathered barriers. Her wetsuit gleamed under the sun, her headset amplifying her voice as she addressed the crowd. "Today you're going to witness something truly extraordinary," she said, her smile radiant, her green eyes sparkling with passion. "Brutus and I are going to show you the trust we've forged over 12 years, a bond that proves humans and crocodiles can understand each other." The children erupted in cheers, their voices bouncing off the concrete walls, their programs waving like tiny flags. Below, Brutus floated in the pool's center, his armored body half submerged, his amber eyes glinting like polished stones. To the untrained eye, he was a picture of calm, a prehistoric giant at rest. But to those who knew crocodiles, his stillness was a warning, a predator lying in wait, every muscle coiled, every sense razor-sharp. Miguel Alvarez, a grizzled maintenance worker stationed near the enclosure, felt a cold dread settle in his gut. He'd been with Riverwild for a decade, long enough to read the subtle signs of danger in the animals. That morning, Brutus had been off, refusing his breakfast of fish and chicken, pacing the pool's edges in tight, repetitive loops, his gaze locked on the growing crowd with an intensity that made Miguel's skin prickle. "Lauren, he's not right today," Miguel radioed, his voice low but urgent. "Let's skip the close-up stuff." Lauren glanced back, her ponytail swaying as she waved him off with a confident grin. "He's just pumped for the show," she replied, her tone light, almost playful. "Brutus loves a big crowd." At 10:20 a.m., Lauren announced her signature act, the Trust Walk. She would step onto a partially submerged ledge inside Brutus's enclosure, standing just feet from the 2,000-pound crocodile to demonstrate their unbreakable bond. The crowd leaned forward, phones raised, their screens glowing as they recorded the moment. Lauren opened the gate with a practiced ease, her boots splashing as she descended to the ledge, the water lapping at her ankles. For a fleeting moment, it seemed her confidence was justified. Brutus remained still, his massive form floating like a log in the pool's center, his eyes half closed, seemingly indifferent. Lauren's voice carried over the water, vibrant and engaging, as she spoke of crocodile intelligence, their ancient lineage, and their critical role in wetland ecosystems. The children hung on her every word, their gasps of awe mingling with the soft ripple of the pool. Then at 10:23 a.m., the world stopped. Without warning, Brutus exploded from the water, his 16-foot body surging forward with a speed that defied his size. His jaws, capable of crushing a car with 3,700 pounds of pressure per square inch, snapped shut around Lauren's left leg with a bone-shattering crunch. Her scream ripped through the amphitheater, raw and guttural, a sound of pure terror. "Help! He's not letting go!" The children's cheers dissolved into piercing shrieks, their programs fluttering to the ground. Teachers scrambled to pull students back from the barriers, but the crowd was paralyzed, their eyes locked on the horror unfolding below. Lauren thrashed, her hands clawing at the slick concrete, blood streaming down her leg as Brutus yanked her into the deeper water, his tail thrashing like a whip. Miguel sprinted toward the emergency hook, a 12-foot aluminum pole designed to pry crocodiles away, his voice booming. "Get the hook! Get the hook!" Elena Cruz, a young staff member, fumbled with the emergency phone, her hands trembling as she slammed the alarm button. "Brutus isn't stopping!" she screamed into the receiver. In the bleachers, parents shielded their children's eyes, but phones kept rolling, capturing the chaos in vivid detail. Lauren surfaced once more, her face a mask of blood and desperation, her voice barely a whisper. "Please, help me." Then Brutus began his death roll, a lethal technique honed over millions of years. His massive body spun, twisting Lauren like a rag doll, the water churning into a crimson froth as his jaws tightened. Miguel thrust the hook toward Brutus, aiming for the crocodile's sensitive snout. But the pole glanced off his armored hide, useless against 2,000 pounds of primal fury. Other staff tossed fish into the pool, hoping to distract him, but Brutus was locked in, his predatory instincts obliterating years of training. For 3 excruciating minutes, Lauren was at his mercy, her body whipped through the water by forces no human could withstand. The crowd's screams grew hoarse, the children's sobs echoing like a chorus of grief. At 10:26 a.m., Brutus suddenly released her, retreating to the pool's far end for reasons no one could fathom. Lauren's broken body floated to the surface, her wetsuit shredded, her face unrecognizable, her limbs still. Emergency medics arrived at 10:31 a.m., their boots pounding the concrete as they rushed into the enclosure. They pulled Lauren's body from the water, their faces grim as they attempted resuscitation, but it was clear she was gone. At 10:38 a.m., Lauren Mitchell, 37, was pronounced dead, her left leg severed, her body ravaged by catastrophic injuries. In less than 4 minutes, a routine demonstration had become a tragedy that would scar every witness. The amphitheater emptied in a frenzy, children sobbing uncontrollably, teachers shouting for order, parents clutching their phones, some still filming the aftermath. River Wild's intercom crackled with a trembling voice. "The sanctuary is closing immediately due to an emergency." But the damage was irreversible. Videos of the attack flooded X within hours, each clip racking up millions of views, sparking a wildfire of grief, outrage, and questions about the ethics of keeping such predators in captivity. Lauren Mitchell wasn't just a trainer, she was a legend. Dubbed the Crocodile Queen, she had poured 17 years into River Wild, transforming it from a modest reptile park into a global destination. At 20, fresh from earning a wildlife biology degree, Lauren arrived at the sanctuary with a spark in her eyes and a fearless fascination with apex predators. Her colleagues described her as a force of nature, charismatic, relentless, and utterly devoted to the reptiles she called her family. To the public, she was a star, her viral videos on X showcasing her swimming alongside alligators, hand-feeding massive crocodiles, and even nuzzling their snouts. Her petite frame dwarfed by their prehistoric power. Her most famous clip, where she guided Brutus through a series of tricks with nothing but hand signals, had over 60 million views, cementing her as a wildlife icon. Lauren's journey began as a volunteer, cleaning enclosures and hauling buckets of fish under the sweltering Florida sun. But her gift with animals was undeniable. By 26, she was head trainer, choreographing River Wild's most daring shows. By 33, she was the sanctuary's education director, a social media sensation whose posts drew millions of followers and floods of donations. Her colleagues called her the Crocodile Whisperer, a nod to her uncanny ability to connect with even the most volatile reptiles. She shunned fear-based training, relying instead on trust and intuition. "If you treat them like monsters, that's what they'll become," she'd say, her voice firm with conviction. "Treat them with respect, and they'll respect you." For 17 years, her philosophy seemed to work. Brutus, her star crocodile, responded to her cues with eerie precision, gliding through the water at her command, his jaws snapping shut inches from her hands to the delight of gasping audiences. But Lauren's methods were controversial. She often performed without barriers, stepping into enclosures with minimal safety gear, trusting her bond with the animals to keep her safe. Federal inspectors cited River Wild multiple times for inadequate safety protocols, their reports warning of imminent risks in her high-contact demonstrations. Wildlife experts like Dr. Rachel Lynn, a crocodilian behaviorist, voiced concerns. Lauren was brilliant but reckless, Dr. Lin said. She believed her connection with these animals made her immune to their instincts. But crocodiles aren't pets. They're wild predators, and no amount of trust can change that. Lauren dismissed the warnings as fear-mongering, insisting her 17 years of experience gave her insights others lacked. "They don't understand what Brutus and I have," she told colleagues. "He's not just an animal, he's my partner." Her confidence was infectious, but it came at a cost. By 2024, Lauren was pushing boundaries harder than ever, driven by the need to keep Riverwild shows spectacular. Her immersive experiences, where she entered enclosures to perform alongside crocodiles without barriers, were a hit with visitors, but terrified her colleagues. "I begged her to rethink it," said Miguel Alvarez. "Even if she trusted Brutus, he's still a wild animal with instincts we can't control." The sanctuary's management, however, leaned on Lauren's star power to keep the park afloat. Her videos and live shows were a financial lifeline, drawing crowds and donations in an era of declining funding and rising insurance costs. Minimal safety measures were added, extra staff, a single emergency hook. But her high-risk performances continued unchecked. In the months leading up to the tragedy, Lauren's behavior grew erratic. She worked grueling hours, planning ever more daring shows to top her previous performances. She signed a deal for a documentary series, Living with Crocodiles, and began designing a second facility to expand Riverwild's reach. To her sister Claire, she confided her excitement about a game-changing performance planned for February 25th. "I'm going to show the world what's possible when humans and crocodiles truly connect," she said, her voice brimming with enthusiasm. It was her last call before the tragedy. Colleagues noticed a manic edge to her confidence, a need to chase the adrenaline of the crowd's gas. She was addicted to that moment when the audience held its breath, Miguel recalled. Each show had to be bigger, riskier. She was trapped by her own success. Brutus was no ordinary crocodile. At 16 feet long and nearly 2,000 pounds, he was a living relic of the prehistoric world, a saltwater crocodile with jaws that could crush steel and a mind sharpened by millions of years of evolution. His intelligence set him apart. Trainers described him as a strategist, capable of learning complex routines and even anticipating human behavior. But that intelligence also made him unpredictable, a trait that made him both a star and a liability. Brutus's story began in tragedy. Captured as a juvenile in northern Australia, he was smuggled into the US through the illegal wildlife trade, sold to a private collector who kept him in a cramped, filthy tank. Malnourished and psychologically scarred, he was rescued by Riverwild in 2013 after a raid shut down the operation. Lauren took charge of his rehabilitation, spending months nursing him back to health with a specially designed enclosure, a deep pool with basking platforms, mangroves, and enrichment to stimulate his mind. To casual observers, Brutus seemed well-adjusted, gliding through his pool with a calm that belied his power. But crocodile experts saw something else: hypervigilance, a predator's instinct that never slept. Brutus was always watching, said Dr. Ethan Caldwell, a reptile behaviorist. He tracked every movement, cataloged every routine. Most crocodiles react. Brutus planned. Over the years, warning signs emerged. In 2023, Brutus began displaying displacement behaviors, repetitive swimming patterns, aggressive posturing near barriers, and an intense focus on staff during feedings. He'd guard his meals obsessively, snapping at imaginary threats and refusing food if routines were disrupted. A consulting veterinarian recommended reducing public interactions, citing stress, but Lauren saw these behaviors as signs of intelligence and engagement. "He's not stressed, he's bonding with us," she'd say, interpreting his fixation as affection. In November 2024, a chilling incident set off alarms. During routine maintenance, Brutus positioned himself between Lauren and the enclosure's exit, blocking her path for 30 minutes. Staff used fish to distract him, but the episode was a red flag. "That wasn't affection," Dr. Lin said. "It was dominance. He was testing her, asserting control over his territory." Lauren, however, saw it differently. She posted a video on X, laughing about how Brutus didn't want me to leave, framing his behavior as endearing. Wildlife experts were horrified, warning that such actions signaled hunting behavior, not bonding. But River Wild's financial dependence on Lauren's star power silenced dissent. Brutus was the centerpiece of her most popular shows, and removing him would mean losing ticket sales and donations. So the performances continued, even as Brutus grew bolder. In January 2025, he snapped at Miguel during a cleaning session, his jaws missing by inches. "It wasn't a warning," Miguel recalled. "He tracked me, positioned himself, and struck. It felt like he was hunting." Lauren dismissed it as territorial instinct, but the pattern was clear. Brutus was asserting dominance, growing confident in his ability to control the humans around him. On the morning of February 25th, Brutus's behavior screamed danger. He refused his breakfast, paced aggressively, and positioned himself near the viewing area, his eyes locked on the crowd. Miguel urged Lauren to cancel the show, but she brushed him off. "He's just excited," she said, her voice brimming with the same unshakable confidence that had carried her for 17 years. It was the last decision she would make. River Wild Reptile Sanctuary was built on a noble dream: to connect people with nature's most misunderstood creatures. Its promotional materials painted a picture of education and conservation, but behind the polished displays lay a darker reality. Over 2 decades, the sanctuary had been cited repeatedly for safety violations: faulty barriers, inadequate emergency equipment, and injuries during rehearsals. Each time, management paid fines, issued apologies, and moved on, prioritizing spectacle over safety. Former staff described a culture of denial, where warning signs were ignored, injuries downplayed, and whistleblowers silenced with non-disclosure agreements. "They were addicted to the show," said Dr. Samuel Rivera, Lauren's former mentor. "Lauren's performances kept the lights on, but they were gambling with lives." The sanctuary's financial situation was precarious. Declining government grants, skyrocketing insurance costs, and competition from larger zoos put immense pressure on revenue. Lauren's viral videos and live shows were often the difference between meeting payroll and closing doors. Her ex-following, over 2.5 million strong, brought donations and international fame. But it also made her untouchable. When federal inspectors issued warnings about her barrier-free demonstrations, management implemented token safety measures: a single hook, an extra staff member, but allowed her to continue. "Lauren was the golden goose," said Elena Cruz. "They couldn't afford to rein her in." Staff turnover told a grim story. Between 2021 and 2025, River Wild lost 65% of its experienced handlers, many citing safety concerns. "I love the animals," said former trainer Maria Lopez, "but I couldn't sleep knowing someone would get hurt." Lauren was playing Russian roulette with 2,000-pound predators. In 2024, a group of crocodilian researchers published an open letter criticizing River Wild's high-risk practices, warning that prioritizing entertainment over safety could lead to disaster. Lauren dismissed it as jealousy from lab-bound academics, but the letter's warnings were prophetic. The tragedy's fallout was swift and devastating. River Wild closed indefinitely, its gates locked by state wildlife authorities. Brutus was relocated to a high-security facility where he would live out his days in isolation, a prisoner of his own instincts. Lawsuits piled up, wrongful death claims from Lauren's family, trauma suits from the families of the 45 children who witnessed the attack. The videos, shared millions of times on X, fueled a national debate about captive wildlife, the ethics of interactive shows, and the responsibility of educators to prioritize safety over spectacle. The 45 children carry the scars of that day. Many suffer nightmares, some refusing to visit zoos or aquariums. "They learned a lesson no child should have to learn," said Dr. Lin. "Nature isn't a pet, it's a force, and it demands respect." A small memorial garden now stands at River Wild, a simple plaque reading, "In memory of Lauren Mitchell, who loved crocodiles but forgot they were wild." Her death became a cautionary tale, a stark reminder that no amount of trust can override millions of years of evolution. Lauren died doing what she loved, sharing her passion for reptiles with the world. But her death was preventable, the result of overconfidence, institutional negligence, and a failure to heed the warnings of a predator's nature. Her legacy is a paradox. A woman who inspired millions to love wildlife, yet paid the ultimate price for underestimating it. If this story grips you, subscribe, like, and share this video with friends. We bring you true wildlife stories that demand to be remembered, understood, and learned from. Respect the wild, and we'll see you in the next video.